And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of Coaster Conventional. And this would be episode 5. And today, my special guest here, Alyssa, aka Fearless Coasters, is here joining us on the podcast. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
I'm very excited to have you on. So, as I always do, I'm going to start the podcast off by asking you what has inspired you to become a coaster enthusiast.
Oh, I think I would honestly say it's just the uniqueness of the hobby, where I loved going to the parks growing up. We had PA, we'll get into that later, but my school field trips were to Dorney and to Hershey, and I grew up stopping at Knoebels, and I always was so obsessed. Everybody's, I want to ride the coaster, but I'm like, I want to know how this coaster works. I want to see this coaster. I want to keep riding this coaster. And then as I got older, I realized, wow, this is something I'm really interested in, but I felt like no one else was, so it kind of held me back. But that's why I made my Instagram about a year ago, and I'm like, there has to be people that love riding coasters, learning about coasters, trying new things, traveling for coasters, and there is.
That's awesome, yeah. I would say that that's a big part in every enthusiast, why they would become one. So let's talk a little bit about where you're from. So what are your home parks, and out of the home parks that you have around you, what would you say, which one is your favorite?
Okay, so I live about 40 miles west of Philadelphia, and I'm equal distance from about Dorney and Hershey, but I claim them both. I would say Hershey is my favorite park in Pennsylvania and my favorite home park for sure.
Okay. So let's get a little bit into Hershey. What things about Hershey do you like about it? What about Hershey would pull you towards it being your favorite over Dorney?
Dorney seems outdated. It's very basic. It is what it is. It's fun for the locals. We had fun there growing up. But Hershey is a destination. You should travel if you have not to come to Hershey.
Right.
It is clean. The operations are great. The staff is great. The rides are honestly top tier for, I would say, the United States, and I'll fight that to the death.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is coming from somebody who has Skyrush as their number one coaster, so
yeah,
I would agree. And I'm not gonna lie, too. Fahrenheit is a one-of-a-kind ride. I think Comet is a great classic wooden coaster, and as much as people hate on it, I think Lightning Racer is also a great GCI, and despite what people have to say about it. I'll always run to Lightning Racer, and I'll hang out with my friends or my brother, and we'll hop on one side, and the friend or my brother will hop on the other, and we'll race each other, and we'll be smack talking each other on the ride while we're going around, and that just adds to the fun. Yeah, okay, Lightning Racer doesn't have the most thrilling GCI layout, but, there are ways to enhance your ride experience. If you're riding it by yourself, I can understand where it gets its hate from, but, go on it with your friends. Send your friends on Thunder while you ride Lightning, or vice versa, and just
ride alone.
smack talk each other while you're riding the ride together. It just adds to that element, it's a competitive that, and that coming from me because I'm very competitive, but I think that adds to the experience.
Absolutely.
So, other than the roller coasters at Hershey, what else do you like about it? As people know, there's a chocolate factory there, which I think adds a lot to that park. It's very unique. The food at there is fantastic. Some of the custom designed funnel cakes they have is insane. I've had the best funnel cake I've ever had at that park.
The milkshakes, oh my, but also, so they just opened the Chocolatier, which I haven't been to yet, but that looks crazy awesome. And also, I don't know if everybody's not PA here, but Trogs Brewery is also next door to Hershey Park. So they have a Trogs location in the park as well. So they have top tier local beers. The food is so good. The tower fries, the cheesesteak fries are the chef's kiss. And that's my profession. I'm actually a chef by trade. So I love the food. I love the atmosphere. And even if you're not from PA, everybody knows Hershey's Kisses. And it's also a great experience to, when you're heading out of the park, stop at that chocolate factory and go through the little tour. And you see how that stuff's made. You can get candy that you can't get at other stores. It's honestly forget Disney. It's a magical experience at Hershey Park.
Yeah, honestly, I could see that. Like, I definitely agree. Like, I think Hershey has its like own little charm. It's obviously like an independent operated park too, because it's not owned by any like major chain, and I think that's like something that it really has going for it, because the people that run the park, they keep it very clean. They do a fantastic job with staffing and ride operations. The park is very secure and safe in my opinion, and I feel like overall like it just has so many unique elements to it that Hershey just stands out on its own, and that's why I think Hershey is one of those top grade parks in the industry. I really think that it is up there in caliber with like parks like Cedar Point and
Absolutely.
Magic Mountain or Busch Gardens, because it has its own atmosphere. So,
Oh yeah.
So that being said, with the atmosphere being so great there, you talk about Dorney being like, very outdated, and what, in your opinion, do you think Dorney Park needs to do to improve?
They need to add anything. I'm not gonna be the one that says they need to add an RMC Raptor to their lineup. I don't even care what it is. You can add a freaking spinner at this point. Like, we have not gotten anything new at Dorney for how long? Rumored shuttle coaster, yeah, coronavirus maybe, but the last new thing we got was Stinger, which
is gone. It's already gone.
Terrible, and lasted what, a couple years? And I mean, flat rides, anything. They haven't added anything in so long, and it's like you go there and sure, like Steel Force, I love it. I grew up riding it, so fun. But how many times are you gonna ride Steel Force, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, if I go to Dorney, right, I'm not a big Hydra fan. Hydra's
honestly,
very
I'm
hit
not
and
a big
miss.
Dorney coaster fan.
Hydra's very hit and miss with me, so there's a lot of people that favor that coaster. Hydra has its fan club, and I will admit that. But when I go to Dorney, my top 3 is Talon, Possessed, and Steel Forest. If I'm not riding Steel Forest, I'm going to Talon, and I'm going to Possessed. If Possessed is closed, because Possessed is down quite often, honestly, then I'll marathon Talon. In my opinion, Talon's the best ride in the park. But that is simply because I think Talon is one of the better B&M inverts, in my opinion, simply due to the fact that I think that it does a great job around its terrain, because I think Dorney did like a really good job fitting that in the spot that it's in.
It's just so random, and the color scheme on Talon is to die for.
Superb. I think it really stands out in that park. Another thing too about Talon is, it may not be the most intense roller coaster on the planet. Like, it's not as intense as some of the other inverts are known to be for. But like, I think the layout itself is just great, and I have a lot of fun when I ride Talon. So I definitely would recommend going to Dorney to get Talon and Steel Forest for sure.
For sure.
Possessed, if you can get it. Hydra, not a big fan. I'm sorry, whoever loves Hydra, I'm just not a big fan. It's got too much of a rattle for me. I rode it last year when I went to Dorney, and I don't know why. I've never gotten a good ride on it. I've gone to Dorney several times, never get a good ride on it.
Honestly, Talon and Hydra are on the same bottom tier for me. I like Talon. I grew up, and Talon was my number 1 at the park when I was younger. And then I kind of grew out of it, and then I had a couple really good rides on Hydra last year, and I was like, I think I'm going to put it over Talon, but honestly, I'm Steel Force number 1, and then Possessed, and then probably Hydra or Talon, and then Thunderhawk doesn't even count. We can just scrap that one.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it has its history, Thunderhawk, because it's an East landmark, it's definitely, I mean, I like it to a degree, because as I mentioned in the last episode with Extreme Thrills, I'm a wooden coaster guy. I like that uncontrollable feeling of a wooden coaster like beating you up, but it has to be limited. There's a boundary there, and it can't cross that boundary, and I think Thunderhawk is like borderline on the boundary, over the boundary, more or less like I can enjoy it more than I can't enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of wooden, I love Wildcat.
Oh wow!
At Hershey Park.
Wow.
everyone hates it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a shocker because I definitely don't like Wildcat at all.
I love it. I don't know why. Maybe because I grew up riding it and it has like a soft spot. But everybody's always like, no, RMC Wildcat. I'm like, don't touch it.
I think I need to get back on it because after it got retracked last year, I haven't ridden it since it got retracked. My issue with Wildcat was it always made me have a headache, like
Yeah, I don't do that.
headache. I don't know why a ride does that to me, but
You feel like you're in a dryer.
Yeah,
like when you're on Wildcat, it's just like.
Yeah. I got that a lot on Wildcat. So as far as PA parks go, you've been to Dorney, you've been to Hershey. Have you been to Knoebels?
Yes.
Okay, I love Knoebels. I think Knoebels for me is like the number one PA park. And
I think if Hershey didn't have Sky Rush, Knoebels would be my number one PA park.
I agree to an extent. And the reason why I'm going that far off of the limb for Knoebels is because Knoebels has that vintage feeling to it, and the atmosphere there I think is even better than Hershey's because it's so family friendly and so classic. Knoebels really knows how to stick to their roots, and they do a good job of maintaining their rides as well. So
for sure.
I think that's what it puts it over Hershey for me, but Hershey definitely a close second. I haven't been to Kennywood or there's a couple other parks that I need to get to in PA as well. But I definitely think Knoebels is probably my number one. Hershey's definitely number two.
Knoebels 2 weeks ago, and I haven't been on Twister in years, and I always had Phoenix very high in just my top list of coasters in general. And I literally wiped Twister way up past Phoenix. I had 3 crazy rain rides, and it was just the most extreme. It was going so fast. It was raining. It was crazy air. I was like, this is top tier.
That's a very controversial opinion in my eyes because not a lot of people like Twister. I
loved it.
As just like Hydra, Twister has its fan base, and I'll be honest, I'm on the fan base for Twister. I like Twister. I think Twister is a great Woody, honestly. But Phoenix, forget it. You have to go to Knoebels on Phoenix Fall Fun Fest, and I've said this the past 2 episodes of my podcast. They double grease Phoenix. Those rides are nuts. You cannot go wrong. Phoenix,
insane.
Phoenix on Phoenix Fall Fun Fest. You can't. I elbowed my mom on that ride when I was younger because I stood up in my seat and she had to throw me back down so that I didn't fly out.
Sounds about right.
But it's worth it. I mean, Phoenix is a great ride. I can't get over it. I placed that pretty high up in my top 10. I think it's number 6. So.
Yeah, I think honestly it was my 8.
Where do you throw Twister now?
I think I moved Phoenix to 14 and put Twister at 10.
Okay. What is your current top 10?
Sky Rush. Steel Vengeance. El Toro. This is very controversial because I have Steel Force as my number 4, and a lot of people don't want to hear that. Mystic Timbers. Maverick. Millennium Force. Apollo's Chariot, which is also very controversial because everybody hates that hyper, but that's fine.
I've never heard that about it, but
Hagrid's is number 9 and Fahrenheit number 10.
Okay, that's a pretty interesting top 10.
It's very interesting.
And I personally, Apollo's is my number 1 hyper. So
really,
yeah,
every single person I talk to is garbage. And I'm like, I love Apollo's. It was my first hyper I was ever on, and again, maybe it holds a sweet spot with me, but I've never been disappointed. I love that ride every time I ride it.
I think Apollo's Chariot did it really well for me when I rode it. I went to Busch Gardens 3 days in a row, and that was always the first and last ride of the day for me was Apollo's, and every time I rode it, it never, ever, ever let up. It always had that great airtime that I was looking for. So my number 2 hyper, B&M hyper, is Nitro. Number 3 is Candymonium, which, by the way, and I will keep saying this, I personally think Candymonium's overrated.
It is. I think we talked about this at Great Adventure.
Yeah, I think
Nitro is better than Candemonium.
yeah, I agree. I think Nitro's definitely got, and it's not even just because Nitro's longer, but like there's like maybe 2 or 3 good moments of airtime on Candy, and that's about it. I mean, the turnaround, the fountain really doesn't do it for me. So, and I feel like that last airtime hill should be a lot stronger going into the break run. So,
It's just.
I mean, it's all right. It's a great addition to Hershey. I mean, it's gonna
1,000%. That's exactly what they needed.
yeah, they're gonna do a good job off of Candemonium, but I think Nitro and Apollos just do it better. So
Mako was always my favorite hyper. I love Mako, and that's one of them. Like I flip flop Steel Vengeance and Sky Rush as my number one all the time, and I'm like I love Mako, but something about Apollos just always calls me back, and I'm like I think I like it more.
yeah, I don't know. I think Apollos is a great hyper. I'm surprised that you hear people saying they hate Apollos.
Oh yeah,
that's surprising, honestly. All right, so what do you have planned for future park trips? Because there's tons of parks out there in the country, and I'm sure that like every enthusiast, you want to visit them all. So
all of them. Yeah. So like I said before, I'm a chef, so I have a hard time getting weekends off.
Yeah.
If I get days off, it'll be during the week, and taking time off is hard. So that's why it sucks. I probably won't get to Hollywood Nights obviously this year or next year. Keys to the Kingdom, probably not in the next year or two. But the following week after next, I'm going to Carowinds, King's Dominion, and Busch Gardens.
Okay.
So that's my most recent little plan coming up. But then otherwise, I want to get back to Cedar Point this year, potentially Kings Island.
Mm-hmm.
And then November, I go to Florida every year for 12 days. So we do Busch Gardens, Universal, SeaWorld.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to get down to Florida. I'm missing all of them parks, so.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's
looking at Iron Gwazi not open last year was
don't get your hopes up, because you're probably going to be looking at it again.
Yeah, and I'm going to be looking at Pantheon. I planned this trip because I'm like, it'll be open by the mid-June.
It's a shame. Yeah. It's a shame. They're just really expensive lawn ornaments at this point.
For real.
Yeah.
It looks pretty.
Yeah, they look pretty good, but it's really sad that they're not open yet. And I honestly though, I could see why. I mean, we talked about it in the last episode, but I think it has a lot to do with staffing issues.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think there's a lot of people that still having not gone back to work yet, post pandemic. So I think people are struggling to find employees, especially theme park chains. That's why we saw Cedar Point raise their minimum wage to $20 an hour for part timers. So I think that's definitely still an issue right now, and the sole purpose of a new roller coaster is to attract more people to the park, and obviously if they don't have the staffing to keep up with park operations, then it doesn't make sense, and it's not really reasonable to open the new roller coasters. So I'm saying it right here, right now. I'm calling it all SeaWorld coasters are going to open next year. I don't think they're going to be open this year. Honestly, as grim as that sounds, it's starting to get into the middle of the coaster season already. We're entering the summer months, which is peak timing. If they were going to open these coasters, they would do it now. They would be doing it now. And there's no word, nothing on these rides. So I don't have very high hopes for them right now, unfortunately.
I'm definitely not getting my hopes up either.
Yeah.
We see Six Flags put the burners on Jersey Devil.
Yeah, I mean they're having their media event next Thursday on the 10th, and I was gonna try to go to it, but the issue that I had in getting to the media event is I took 3 days off this weekend for Hollywood Nights, Keys to the Kingdom, and Kings Island. And my job limits me, like you, on how much time off we're allowed to have. It's very hard for me to take off, because if I go over the amount of vacation time they allow me to have, then I get written up. So, being that I only have 10 days left for the year, I have 3 coming up this weekend. And then I have another 3 days coming up in September, because my band is playing that big festival down in Virginia. So that's 6 days off the bat. Like,
Yeah.
out of the 10 days that I have left for the year, it's 6 days already. So, I really can't be taking the risk and, like, taking off for Jersey Devil. It's my home park. I'll get on it at some point this year. I'm not really that worried about it. So, but are you excited for Jersey Devil? I mean, you're relatively close to Great Adventure.
Yeah, I am so stoked for Jersey Devil. Like I said to you earlier, the only RMC I've been on right now at all is Steel Vengeance. Mm-hmm. So obviously I'll get to ride Twisted Timbers in a week or two. But I'm like, I want to ride more RMCs.
Yeah. Do you have plans to get back to New England anytime soon, or go to New England?
I've been thinking about that too, and I might as well. I was thinking, I think I'm just going to do when I have a day or two in a row off.
Yeah.
Because the drive isn't terrible. So when I have a couple days during the week off, it'll probably be prime time. Because, again, like you, I can't take any more days. So
if you want a little bit of a recommendation, I would suggest doing, if you're going to do 2 days, go the first day. Do the Connecticut parks first. You get Quasi and compounds out of the way. Second day, go to New England, get it done, and then drive back home the same day. Because you can get New England done in a reasonable amount of time,
Yeah.
Especially now that Goliath is closed. Because Goliath had long lines, and I mean long.
Yeah.
When I went to New England, Wicked Cyclone wasn't that bad of a wait. Neither was Dark Knight. Neither was their SLC, and what else did I do when I was there? Thunderbolt wasn't that bad, but yeah, they're not super busy, and I mean Superman is really good too. So that's a good hyper.
That's Superman.
Yeah, that's
not not Great America, not Six Flags America.
Yeah, no.
I hate that park.
Six Flags America is hit and miss in my opinion. I mean, when I went, I enjoyed their coaster lineup. Except for Firebird, but
yeah, hated it.
They have a hard time keeping up on their maintenance. So, I mean, the rides were down sporadically, many times throughout the day. But yeah, I definitely would recommend get Quasi compounds done on whatever the first day is. Next day, go to New England. Definitely Wicked Cyclone and Ride of Steel. Or the Superman to ride. Definitely get those two out of the way.
Need that.
Yeah, Superman is in my top 10, and for good reason. I mean, Wicked Cyclone 2 is in my top 10. That's my number 3 now. So
wow, whoa, okay.
Yeah, so I have my top 10 is. My number 1 is Skyrush. My number 2 is El Toro. My number 3 is Wicked Cyclone. This is my controversial pick. My number 4 is Verbolten at Busch Gardens.
Oh, we talked about that at Great Adventure.
I love Verbolten. I love it. One of the best launch coasters I've ever been on, hands down. Verbolten is great. I don't care what anybody has to say about it. I love that ride. Yeah, so Verbolten would be number 4. Number 5, I would do Superman the Ride. Number 6 would probably be Phoenix. Number 7. See, like, the last 3 in my top 10, like, always, like, flop. Like, I would say number 7 is probably Apollo's Chariot. Number 8 is probably Goliath at Great America, another RMC. Number 9, this is where it gets kind of difficult, like, because, like, my opinions on some rides have changed, like, recently. Like, I've become more of, like, an invert guy than I used to be. So, like, I've been, like, contemplating putting Alpengeist in my top 10.
It's a good pick if you're going to pick one.
Yeah, I mean, Alpengeist, like, I hated it at first. But, like, now that I go back and think about it, like, my ride on it was wild. Like, it was a great ride, and I think I shunned it too much, and I'm probably gonna have to give it another chance. But yeah, the last 2 in my top 10 struggle with it a little bit. I honestly just don't know, because there's so many rides I could put in my top 10, but I just don't know what to put there.
I flip mine around so much.
Yeah.
I ride something else, and I'm like, yeah.
I think that's how I'm gonna be with Voyage. honestly. Like I think Voyage,
yeah, I'm dying to ride that.
I think Voyage is gonna be in my top 3, honestly. Like from what I've heard about the trimless night rides on
I was
that
gonna
thing.
say, after you ride it with no trims, forget it. You're like, whoop, and then
I'm,
wait, Red Steel Vengeance.
Voyage with trimless night rides at this point, like I'm anticipating it easily number 3, 2, or 1. Easy. Like it might even beat Sky Rush, and which is, if that happens, that's pretty tough. That's a pretty tough ride to beat for me, because
I was gonna say it has to be crazy to beat Sky Rush.
yeah, I don't know if you ever gone to Hershey during Hershey Park in the Dark.
I was actually there last year.
Yeah, I got the most insane rides on Sky Rush in my life at that event at night. Night ride, back last row, left wing seat.
Always.
My legs were bruised because I was just hanging on for dear life to the seat because I thought I was gonna fly out on that first drop. I was like, oh my god.
Sometimes I go to Hershey and I think to myself, like, obviously how much I love the rough ejector that you get.
Yeah.
Literally, like, violent. But then I think, and I'm like, okay, there's people like GP riding this, and they're just like, oh, another coaster at Hershey. And I'm like, oh my god, they have no idea what they got themselves into. Like, this is world-class airtime. And you're just like, it's the yellow one. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. We actually talked a lot about the GP in episode 3 of Teacup Thrills. That was funny. And actually, I actually saw an Instagram post today. Somebody was actually like upset because coaster enthusiasts talk about the GP, and like this person was like really upset because in their opinion, when we talk about coaster facts and we refer to the GP, they feel like we think we're like higher than them, which, you know what, it does look like that, but at the end of the day, like, as enthusiasts, that's never our intention, you know what I mean?
No, more passionate and potentially more knowledgeable, but not better.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to a park and like going up to general public and being like, here, did you know this about this roller coaster? Like, do you know what airtime is? Like,
did you see my El Toro t-shirt, dude? Come on.
Yeah, come on. What are you missing out on? Like, it's not like I'm going around and rubbing it in their faces. I'm a coaster enthusiast, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a coaster enthusiast. Yes, I'm knowledgeable on a lot of things regards to it. Am I trying to make GP feel bad about it? No. But when we talk GP stories, is it funny? Yeah, because when you know a little bit more about stuff like that and people do that, I mean, you're not going to go up to them and be like, yeah, what you just said or did is really funny. Like,
wrong.
You always say, oh, you do that?
No, I mean, like, you're not going to do that. You're
no.
not like their instant fact checker of that's not true.
Yeah, no. Like,
that's cringy.
Yeah, I would. That's what I think. And that's what I'm hoping this person that posted that on Instagram today is referring to, people like that, because I would never do that. Like,
no,
it's my choice to be a coaster enthusiast. I don't expect everybody else in the world to know the same stuff that I do about roller coasters. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
The people I work with think I'm insane.
And that's okay.
Like, she loves coasters. I'm like,
there's people that have their passions out there. I mean, there's, like music. There's diehard One Direction fans. There's diehard Jonas Brothers fans. There's diehard Olivia Rodrigo fans right now. I mean, her entire album topped Spotify's song list. Like, so, I think it's a matter of what people are passionate about. I don't think other people should be judging people for being coaster enthusiasts. I don't think we as coaster enthusiasts should be judging GP, and I certainly don't. I mean, yeah, I find some GP stories to be funny, but like, I'm not going out of my way to judge them for what they're doing. I mean, unless you're doing stupid things like going into restricted areas when you're not supposed to, then yeah, I'm gonna
throwing your phone at us on El Toro.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's just, you don't have to be an enthusiast to know not to do that stuff. That's just plain stupid at that point, and dangerous. I mean,
yeah.
Power hours when we were there, because this was the night we hung out too. So after we split off, me and Jason got one more ride on El Toro. That's what we finished the night off with, because we met up with Christian Duffy and his girlfriend. And they came up to us and they were like, "Yo, we're going to finish the night on El Toro. You guys want to come with us?" And we were like, "All right, yeah, let's do it." as we were pulling up to the final brake run, we see a beater red Chevy Impala and two people in the restricted area running along the sideline of the fence going up to the brake run. And we're just like, what are these people doing? I mean, seriously, what are you doing? Like, not to do that. It says restricted area. I mean, the park tells you not to go into these areas. You brought your phone on the ride. That's your problem. You deal with that. You deal with that in a way that makes sense. Don't go out of your way to put your life in danger or hold up the park and their operations just because you made a mistake. Own up to your
She was
mistake.
very dead set on finding her phone. She was like, "Where did I find my phone?" I'm like, "Your phone's gone, and that's your fault."
and that's kind of like what I visualized. Like, I think she probably was like, "Yeah, I'm not leaving this park until I get my cell phone."
Get my phone. Yeah.
And I mean, there's cell phone policies. Like, don't bring your phone on the ride. Like, a locker is $1 for 2 hours. It's $1. Just buy a locker.
$1. And honestly, if risk getting your stuff stolen, whatever, leave it outside. Leave it in a bag. Leave it whatever. Hey, you don't want to pay the $1 for a locker? Run the risk of getting it stolen, but don't put yourself or someone else in danger.
Exactly. It ain't worth it.
Absolutely not.
And that's a message for anybody who's watching this in the future. Okay? If you stumble across this podcast episode and you are listening to us, whether you are an enthusiast or general public, do not put your life in danger for any reason at a theme park. It's not worth it. There have been many, many accident stories that weren't at the park's fault, but rather it was human error. And I'm not going to get into any of those, but some are pretty tragic. So I think people should take note of that. I really don't think it's a game or something people should be playing around with.
Yeah, they don't put those rules in place to inconvenience you.
Nope. No, definitely not. I think it's definitely good safety protocols. It's just a matter of people need to follow them.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyways, back to, Hershey Park. So, you said you went to Hershey Park in the dark last year. What was your experience with that?
Well, I rushed there after work. I got there a little late. But we went straight and we got a couple night rides on Candemonium, which, I agree, Candemonium is very overhyped.
Mm-hmm.
But they were honestly, all of my rides at night in October were really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have children, but I walked through the trick-or-treat trail that they had because I was like, gotta see it. Again, just family-friendly, so clean, giving out Hershey's chocolates with cute little riddles, great for the kids, great for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I think I rode Laugh Track because I think there was not a long line, and that gets an insane line as soon as the park opens. And then I just marathon Sky Rush the whole night.
Actually, Laugh Track was that was the first time I ever rode it. Was during this past Hershey Park in the dark, and they did the lights out thing, which I thought was pretty cool. The black out, so it was interesting riding a spinning coaster in pitch black. Definitely interesting. So, you came to Great Adventure recently, as we've been talking about. How often do you visit Great Adventure? How much do you enjoy that park?
I do love that park a lot, and it's because of Nitro and El Toro. Mm-hmm. The park itself is mediocre in my park vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I do not like free spins. I hate with a passion. My number one hated coaster is Green Lantern. I cannot stand that ride.
How ironic that you can't stand a stand-up coaster.
A Dark Knight is stupid and terrible. Jersey Devil's going to be a game changer. The Batman clones don't excite me. King Ka is really good, but I prefer Dragster. But that park is higher up in my rankings just because I really like Nitro and El Toro.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the park itself is a really good vibe. I love the boardwalk section. I just think, I don't know, I always say this, and I'm not lazy. I do a ton of walking, but everything is so spread out and different sections and far away from each other that it's almost inconvenient. There's been times where we're leaving and we're like, oh, do you want to ride something? And we're like, oh, Bizarro has a 5-minute wait, but I'm not going to walk all the way back there. Like, we're like, oh, I won't even make it. So I think it's just like the park layout is kind of but I think it's a beautiful park. The lake is beautiful. I like the setting of it. You're not gonna like this, but not the biggest fan of the Jersey crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So I know like a lot of Jersey, and I went to college in New York.
Yeah,
but
I don't blame you. I'm not a big fan of the people here either. Trust
yeah,
me.
it's more like a people thing, and occasionally staff. But otherwise, I've had good experiences at Great Adventure. It's clean normally. The staff is pretty good. The operations are typically decent.
Mm-hmm.
But
we'll excuse this year because this year the operations are questionable. But
I sat on Nitro's brake run 2 Thursdays ago for probably close to 20 minutes. They were running 3 trains on Nitro, and the trains were just absolutely stacked, and I don't know what was going on, but we just sat there all the way in the back, and I'm like, like, get me off of here.
You probably at least got a couple of Jersey Devil test runs while you were there, though.
Oh, I did, yeah. It was after we saw a test, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I rode that with you, I think, that cycle.
Yeah, it was, so when we rode King to Ka, I ran all the way to Nitro when the park was closing, rode Nitro, sat on the brake run, and then sprinted back to El Toro to go to my locker, and I got the last ride on El Toro.
So we probably walked past you when we left El Toro because we were like one of their last rides there.
Yeah, I think the train, I was the second to last because the train left, and then when we got back to the station, they were like, "No, that's it." And I was like, "I gotta go anyway." But it was like, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, park's closing, my stuff's in a locker near El Toro, 100% my own fault. But I'm like, oh, and I want to ride El Toro, and it's a 15-minute walk.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I think Six Flags Road Adventure has a very spread apart layout because there are very big amounts of the park where you would just walk through it and there's just nothing there. Like
nothing there. Yeah.
Like I think the area going from the main entrance, you turn left, you have the carousel and the teacups. That's it. Go to the boardwalk is there. You have a good walk through the boardwalk before you get to any of the rides.
Yep.
Then you have a long walk through the Golden Kingdom to get to King to Ka. And then same thing with El Toro and Log Flume and Mine Train. You have a long walk to get to any of them through the Golden Kingdom, and they just don't have anything in there to like as a little bit of a quick pit stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that walk to El Toro is like, what am I walking by? Like I'm like.
So this brings me back to like 90s at Great Adventure because they had forget what the model was, but they had a Huss jump. Oh, it's a jumping jack. They had a Huss jumping jack, and it was called Jumping Jack Flash. And it was like in the middle of like where the tents are going towards like the Golden Kingdom, where the arcade is next to the teacups. Well, it used to be in the middle there. That's where Jumping Jack Flash used to be. And honestly, like I never got to ride that ride, unfortunately, but I really wish I did, and I think it would have been a great ride to have at the park still. I think they need to do something similar to that and put another flat ride in the middle there just to kind of like balance out the walk and make it worth your while. You know what I mean? I mean they have like tons of stands and stuff, like food for days, but get a little bit more like rides, like instead of spacing everything so far out, like everything's on like the edge of the park while you just nothing in the middle. Like throw some more rides like in the middle, like centralize it a little bit. You know what I mean? Oh, there goes your webcam.
Yeah, there went my phone call. I don't know. I get the potential spam calls like all day.
So do I, even on my work phone, which is sad.
Yeah, I'm at work and it's like ding ding ding.
Yeah, so back on topic. So you said you've been to Cedar Point. I'm gonna take a good assumption and say that's your favorite park.
I think so.
I
think I don't know. I think my favorite park. I'm torn on this. I think it might be Islands of Adventure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
As my favorite park as a whole. But Cedar Point was, like I said to you earlier, it was a dream. It was everything that I thought it was going to be. it is the coaster enthusiast capital.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Everybody there is so nice. The operations were great when I was there in the height of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, me and my boyfriend had coaster t-shirts on, and the ride ops are like, I had a Steel Force on. They're like, what do you like better, Magnum or Steel Force? Like, super cool, like, great to talk to. We didn't really eat while we were there, but we stayed at Hotel Breakers,
Mm-hmm.
also on property, which was 10 out of 10. Would highly recommend to anyone planning on going to Cedar Point. Although they didn't do the early entry last year, it was still totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's picturesque. On the island or the peninsula island, but you see the water, you see the roller coasters at night. Everything is lit up, and the coasters are top tier.
Yeah, I definitely think Cedar Point is like a god tier level theme park. Like, this is pretty hard to beat that park in my opinion.
I don't think anything let me down at Cedar Point.
I have high expectations for when I go there, so I'm hoping that I don't get let down because I had high expectations going to Compounds because everybody talks so highly of Boulder Dash, and then I hated Boulder Dash, so...
Yeah, I think Islands Adventure is just a different... I'm a Universal fangirl also, so I've been going there since I was little, every November, but the immersion... and the theming and everything, the music when you're walking by and the character sighting and the food is really good there and the rides are great, especially with, I mean, now that Hagrid's and Velocicoaster are open, like they're really moving forward with more like thrill rides and coasters.
Mm-hmm.
And I love like every second there's something new to look at, and every year there's something new that like, hey, I've never noticed that before. The attention to the small detail and just, it feels like vacation even if you live there. It's like a paradise there.
Real quick, to our viewers, if you guys have any questions, prepare them now. Start posting them in the comments. As we're getting in towards like the end section of the podcast, we're going to start answering your questions if you guys have them. So going back to the topic, so what do you look for in a roller coaster? Like, what for you determines a good roller coaster? Because if you're going to Cedar Point, like, what would you go to? Like, what's your go-to? Like, you airtime junkie? Do you like intensity, or does it not matter?
But I would pair that with the intensity. And, like, that's why, like, you know, B&Ms are not my favorite. Like, I'm like I'm the Intamin fangirl because I enjoy airtime, even if it's on a B&M Hyper, even if it's on any, like, even I've never rode Fury yet, but. Like, you know, even on something like Fury or something, but it's so smooth, so it doesn't, like, have my heart.
Yeah.
I like violent ejector airtime, something that's just like, this is a different experience that I've never felt before type. So, I mean, definitely I would say strong ejector with a high intensity level.
Yeah, I agree. I'm an Intamin fanboy myself.
Number
a
one.
lot of my favorite coasters are Intamins, so I definitely agree with you there. I think the violent ejector on some of the Intamins is superb. Skyrush especially. El Toro, fantastic.
Amazing.
And I've heard good things about. Why am I brain farting right now? There's another really good Intamin with like lots of airtime that I can't think of right now, but
I have so many Intamins going through my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Maverick is top tier as well. So, like, I mean, honestly, I love Millennium Force too, and I'm like let down by an Intamin.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm so stoked for I-305. Like, that's my number one bucket list coaster right now.
Yeah, and that's more for intensity than airtime. Well, I've heard it's got some pops of airtime on it, but man, that intensity. Yeah, I'm excited for that one myself. I'm actually looking at 3 Giga Coaster credits this year. So, my first one's going to be Orion, obviously, because I'm going to Kings Island Monday. My second one is probably going to be Millennium Force. And then, hopefully, I get on I-305 the weekend that I have my festival down in September. So, hopefully, I'll have 3 of the 5 Gigas knocked out, because that would leave me left with Leviathan and then Fury, because I haven't been on Fury yet either.
Yeah, after next weekend, I'll just have Leviathan, which That's way future. Cause
Yeah, well,
I don't
Canada's
know when I'm gonna get
Wonderland
up
is
there.
they're struggling to get even open this year. So
Yeah.
on that's really unfortunate. But Canada still has a lot of issues going on with the pandemic. So we'll give Canada's Wonderland the pass for this year, which is it's unfortunate because I live 8 hours away from Canada's Wonderland, and I actually got my passport last year. So if I wanted to go
Oh,
there, I
word.
could. Yeah. So I was really hoping like I could get there and possibly ride Leviathan and Yukon Striker, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen this year.
Mm-mm. Sad.
So how often do you go to theme parks, and what would you balance out as like the main theme park that you go to? Would it be Hershey, or do you not just have one specific park that you go to?
I would say honestly, with the exception of maybe a handful a year, I almost go once a week,
Mm-hmm.
and 100% mostly Hershey.
Mm-hmm.
I do like I work normally 6 to 2, 6 to 3, sometimes a little later, and I live so close to those that all the like I won't even go for the day. I'll just go at night if I have the next day off or something. And I'll ride some coasters, or if I go to Dorney, I'll get some Chickies and Pete's and a couple beers and ride Steel Force a couple times and come home.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the summertime, just go to Dorney and go to the water park and get a tan.
Yeah.
It's almost just like because it's so close to me. These two parks are so close to me. It's just like something to do
Mm-hmm.
all the time.
Eric Johnson asks, do we recommend getting a season pass for certain parks? And the answer is Six Flags, get a membership. Diamond Elite, it's $20 a month. You'll get your visits worth in 3 visits for almost the entire year. I'm not even kidding. They give you skip the line passes, and 50% off on everything in the park. I mean, Six Flags, Diamond Elite, go Diamond Elite. Definitely
Gotta
do
do
it.
it.
Cedar Fair.
Cedar Fair.
If you're gonna get a pass for Cedar Fair, definitely get a pass for Cedar Fair. If you've got the money, get the Platinum Pass. They let you in an hour early at all their parks. You get ERT in the morning as a Platinum Pass holder. It's great. I'm actually going to be getting my Platinum Pass this Friday for Kings Island. So,
Yeah, that's where mine's from. Actually, that's funny.
yeah. So I definitely recommend it. Get a pass at the major chains. Even SeaWorld. If you're an avid SeaWorld park goer, like if you like the SeaWorld parks or you like Busch Gardens, get a pass. I mean, the thing that really
100%.
solidifies.
If you're gonna go more than twice, get a pass.
Yeah. I was gonna say the thing that really solidifies the idea of getting a pass is how often you go to a certain chains parks, because you really want more bang for your buck. So like if you're gonna go to a Six Flags park and then you have plans to go like 3 other ones in the year, definitely get a pass. Definitely. Especially because if you pay once, you pay for $20 a month for the membership, but the membership gets you in free admission at every park. You know what I mean? Same with the Cedar Fair Platinum Pass. You pay $200, get the Platinum Pass, you get free admission to all their parks. So, oh, you froze.
Wait for whoever bought it
there we
last year
go.
as well. It was so I bought my Cedar Fair Platinum Pass last year because I thought I'm like, oh, well, I can use it at Dorney at home, but I had plans to go to Cedar Point and Kings Island.
Mm-hmm.
And with coronavirus, the pandemic, they extended it from last year to.
Ooh, you froze again. Looks like we might be having a connection issue here.
There. And then I'll also get King's Dominion and Carowinds on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 years worth of coaster trips, and I haven't had to pay for parking or admission. Like, and even if you only have one, I don't know why.
Yeah, I agree. I think in most cases, yeah, definitely get a pass. I think it's definitely worth it to get a pass in most scenarios.
The Hershey Pass too.
Yeah, Hershey. If you're an avid Hershey goer, get a Hershey Pass. Definitely.
It's like
worth it.
$129.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think like if you're gonna go to a park multiple times in a season, yeah, it's definitely worth it to get a pass. You're gonna get more bang for your buck in that scenario, especially chains like Six Flags who offer single day tickets for like $50, and you're gonna be paying what? Even a gold membership like is the equivalent to a season pass. You're paying $5 a month. You're still paying $50 for the whole year, or $60 for the whole year. That's equivalent to one visit.
I mean, plus parking, you're already $75. So
yeah. So yeah. I think we pretty much answered that question. I think it's
yeah,
definitely
you
worth
gotta
it
get
to
the
get a
pass.
pass.
You gotta get the pass.
Definitely worth it to get a pass. All right, so we got 10 minutes left on the podcast. Anybody else who has questions, ask your questions. We'll definitely get to them as soon as we can. Back to our Cedar Point topic. So a lot of people say, like, and I want to hear this from anybody that I talk to. This is a general question coming from me to you. As somebody who's ridden Magnum, does it live up to the hype?
I don't know.
Come on.
Okay. So my visit to Cedar Point was last year, so it was only open in the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And I visited Friday and a Sunday. It was really busy, and I wanted to get everything done. So I only got one ride on Magnum, which was Friday morning, very early.
Mm-hmm.
Which it'll warm up, blah, 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 maybe. I preferred Steel Force over Magnum, which a lot of people do compare them. Now, I didn't sit in the magic seat on Magnum, and I kind of screwed myself over on Magnum a little bit because I left myself a little bit too much room because I was like, I hear this airtime is crazy. I got to get ready for it. And
They
I'm only
stapled
5'2". No, they
Oh.
let me go. But I'm only 5'2", and I'm like a small girl, and at the end, Magnum's finale, when you're going over all the bunny hills out of the tunnels,
Mm-hmm.
I see. Like I was like so under the lap bar that I got no air. Like it ruined that entire finale of the ride. And then I was like, well, I gotta ride again because I didn't have a good experience. And we like went back, and it was like a 2-hour wait. So I only had one like pretty bad ride. I was like a little too loose where I was kind of like out, like under my seat, and I was like, no.
Would you recommend if you go to Cedar Point getting the Fastlane Plus?
100%.
Yeah.
I wish I did it, honestly.
What day of the week did you go to Cedar Point on?
Friday and a Sunday.
How was it on Sunday? Was it busy?
Sunday was not as bad as Friday, but it was still pretty busy.
Okay.
I'm glad that we did decide to do Kings Island on the Saturday because they said the Saturday was almost unbearable lines. We lucked out because they did have access passes last year,
Mm-hmm.
but we saw some tips that people said, if you run right to a ride, you can ride before they distribute the passes.
Mm-hmm.
So both days in the morning, we sprinted to Steel Vengeance and got 2 rides on Steel Vengeance before access passes even were handed out.
Okay.
So it was okay. Like, I think total we got 5 rides on Steel Vengeance, which for 2 days on a busy weekend, like, I'm not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
And the only credit I didn't get is Raptor.
Okay.
But we didn't have a fast pass. The only ride that we really waited for was Millennium Force. And we did have a return time. We came back at a return time, and we waited over 3 hours probably. It was brutal. And I think honestly, I liked the ride a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was my first Giga. I was very excited. I love Intamin. It was beautiful, but I think waiting that long made me miserable. Yeah, like I was so pissy, and I was like, I'm ready to go eat. I don't want to be here. We're still in this line.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Magnum, maybe it's better if you have a better experience, but for me, I still like Steel Force.
Okay, fair enough. Fair argument. I'll have to find out for myself.
You gotta ride it.
The only reason I asked what day of the week you went is because when I go, I plan on going on a Sunday and a Monday. So.
Yeah, I think the Sunday wasn't terrible, and I think you'll be golden on a Monday.
Okay. Yeah.
I would still get the fast pass though, because I do still have regrets of like, I only rode Top Thrill Dragster once. I only rode Maverick twice. Like, I only got Millennium Force once, and I'm like, did I really get a good opinion? Like, how was my ride? I don't have anything to compare it to. So I'm like,
Right.
I feel like I didn't get it all.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna get the Fastlane Plus on Sunday, and then Monday I'm not.
Yeah, and Monday just do like what you didn't get done, or like what you want to do again.
We want to get like every coaster credit done on Sunday, and then Monday we want to ride the rides we like the most and like just re-rides.
Yeah.
So
That's basically what we did. I think we rode the only new credit we got on the second day was Valraven because
Okay.
that line gets insane. But then we rode Valraven first. We got right there, and then we just did Maverick again and Steel Vengeance again, and
wow,
walked around.
I'm actually like quite impressed that Valraven pulls that many people.
Oh, that line was longer. I mean, they had access passes, but that line was way longer than Raptor. Way longer than Rougarou. Rougarou was a walk-on the whole time we were there. It was terrible. So I
poor Mantis. Poor Mantis. That's all.
Yeah.
Poor Mantis.
It was not. Rougarou was talk about head banging. It was brutal.
I haven't heard good things about any of the floralist conversions, so
it was wouldn't do again. It's skippable.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably just go for it for the credit. There's some people that love it, but I'm not. I don't know. I'm just not real big into floralist coasters. Like mine, I like Bizarro at Great Adventure. I thought Dark Knight at New England was good too. Hate. I'm not. I wouldn't say hate, but I'm not a fan of Hydra. Hydra.
I like the Hulk.
But
it has a launch, so it's like it's on a different class.
Trying to think if I've ridden any other floralist coasters. I think those are the only three. Yeah, those are the only three, I believe. I'll be getting Dominator later this year, so there's that. And
same, yeah.
Rougarou. I don't think Kings Island has a floralist.
No,
they don't have a floralist.
There'd be just Orion, Banshee, and Diamondback, which Diamondback was really good.
Yeah, I think one of the credits I'm looking forward to most at Kings Island is the Bat.
Oh, okay, so, that's the only other credit I missed at Cedar Point was Iron Dragon. But I was like, I kind of went into Kings Island like, okay, I don't know how this is going to be. It might be really boring, but it might be really cool. The Bat blew me away. Like, sometimes I see the wait times at Kings Island, and it's like a walk-on for the Bat, and I'm like, go ride it 1,000 times. It was so much fun. It's like in the woods. The colors are cool. It was such a great experience.
I've never been on an aero-suspended swinging coaster, so I'm like
that was my first time. Loved it.
Yeah, I'm like really interested to see how that rides.
And I loved the Beast. Kings Island was great too, honestly.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I'm also really excited for the other two parks I'm going to be going to this weekend. I'm actually getting another RMC. Storm Chaser, baby.
Yeah, that's going to be so good.
I can't wait, and I've been told that it's running magnificently this year, so I can't wait for them incredible rides on that.
Yeah, I'm
cannot wait. I love RMCs. That'll be my third one, and then Jersey Devil will be number 4, and then Steel Vengeance will be number 5, and then Twisted Timbers will be number 6. So I'll have 6 RMCs by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'll have Twisted Timbers, Jersey Devil, and then Iron Gauzy. Big question mark.
You mean the giant lawn ornament?
Yeah, by November. Maybe they open in October.
We'll see. Like I said, I don't have high hopes for it, but
no, I can't get my hopes up again. I was very excited. It was going to be my 100th credit last year, and then they were like, "Oh, we're not opening it." And I was like, "What do I do now?" So I rode Mind Blower.
Yeah, if you talk to a lot of enthusiasts, Mind Blower isn't the greatest Woody.
It was meh. It was fine. I liked it. It wasn't Iron Gauzy, but.
All right. We're on the last minute of the podcast, so I would just like to thank you for coming on here and chatting with me. I had a really great conversation with you. We didn't get any other questions. However, after the podcast ends, this will be posted to my YouTube channel. So if we get any comments in the comment section, I'll let you know. We can come back and answer them at our leisure if we can when we have the time. Is there anything else you'd like to say before I end it?
No, thank you for having me. It was super fun. It's the only podcast I've ever done. So
you know what? You're I think the third person to say that to me now, and I'm just really happy to be doing this because Like,
Yeah.
I'm giving everybody opportunities now. Like, I feel so great, like, bringing this positive vibe onto, like, the coaster community.
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, just chatting, talking. I
Yeah,
loved it.
and that's what I live for. Like, we had such a great conversation about so many things, and I feel like this whole season pass conversation was, like, really informational, too. I think people will get a good, a lot of information from that. But,
For sure.
yeah, I appreciate you for coming on. I will probably eventually be having people back on the podcast. I just want to get a better like selection of guests on here, like give everybody their chance. You know what I mean? But I'd love to have you back on it at some point. So we'll definitely talk about it. And yeah, so that's it for this episode of Coaster Conventional. For anybody that is hoping there's going to be an episode on Monday, I'm sorry there's not going to be. I'm going to be at Kings Island, so look forward to next Wednesday, because next Wednesday I do have an episode coming out, and I already have a guest plan for that. You guys are not going to want to miss it. Have a great night, everybody.